Hey everybody, welcome back to our series on explosive agility. I'm Steve, one of the performance coaches here at Spectrum Sports Performance. We've done a lot of talking so far about individual movement skills and movements that we can go ahead and do to help get us more explosive and more agile, and that's great. We've also talked about how tying it together to make it more reactive and more drill-oriented can help make the connection from the individual drill to an actual sport-like environment. We talked with Eric a little bit last week, if you remember, about strength development and power development, how important that is in helping us get more agile and more explosive. And so today, to kind of keep on that theme, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Will over here. Will is the owner and operator of Spectrum Sports Performance, also the head strength coach over at Rollins College. Also has extensive background working with professional level clientele, baseball, soccer, many other sports. He's kind of been around it all, seen it all, done it all. He's just a great one to kind of talk about how now we're going to take all this individual stuff we've worked on and actually help get athletes better on the field, because we can make them more explosive in here, but at the end of the day, they've got to go onto their field or court and dominate their sport. And that's our job to go ahead and get us there. And so, Will, the very first question I just kind of want to ask about is, you're going to get athletes that are going to come to you, and they've learned how to shuffle, they've learned how to cut, they've learned how to cross over, accelerate, all this stuff, and they're going to ask you, okay, well, in which situation do I do a 90-degree cut? Or when do I cross over? Or when should I shuffle? Or what do you think? When should I do this and that? What's your answer to that question?
Yeah, what happens is, especially in the college setting, we work with an athlete for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and we teach these skills that Steve's done in this blog series about explosive agility. And then the athlete comes up to me, and it's a lacrosse player, and she says, well, after I go there, should I cross over a 90-degree cut out of this? And the answer for me usually is, I don't know. That's not my job to make that decision. And so, and that could be in lacrosse, that could be on the court in volleyball, that could be an outfielder in baseball. And what these athletes have to understand is we want to make them as efficient as possible in these specific skill sets: shuffling, crossing over, 45-degree cut, 90-degree cut, turning reactive. But at the end of the day, your sport or how you react is going to determine what skill set you use. So our goal is, how can we make you as efficient as possible in whatever movement you decide to make. And then it's more the sport coach or the skill coach of that particular sport to help an athlete say, hey, if you're in an outfield, you're center field, and the ball's hit like this, I would prefer you open up 180 and go get the ball. But us as performance coaches, we just want to make you as efficient as possible in these different movements.
And would you talk a lot of that about, so they come to us with a very minimal skill set. Maybe a couple tools in their belt, they know how to do this movement, that movement, and a lot of it's one side dominant, right? They like to push off that right leg. And our whole goal is just to take that skill set and expand it, right? I mean, we want to give them a huge arsenal of weapons that they can now take to the field and dominate their sport.
Or they think they know how to do that.
Yeah.
They think they know how to shuffle, but really, they've just shuffled because that's what feels okay to them. And we want to help make them more efficient at that shot. Or a baseball player who steals bases. He knows how to cross over, but can we make him more efficient? And that's really becomes the difference of being a good athlete and then maybe becoming a great athlete, or making more money, or being more recruitable or more prospectable for an agent or a school or a club or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And another question too is, we've worked on crossing over, and it's easy to go, okay, crossover, it's going to help with baseball. But how do you make that connection to, let's say, at one session you're working with a baseball kid on crossing over. Now, how do you make that same connection to a soccer player who may not initially be like, hey, I don't need to ever use this movement skill, I don't even need to cross over. How do you take a drill and, I would say, twist it, contort it to baseball, and then, let's say soccer, and then maybe volleyball the next hour after that?
Yeah, great point. So one of the things as a performance coach, we have to understand sport. And so if I can teach this crossover to baseball, it's definitely going to apply in soccer and volleyball. And I have to do my research and understand when a soccer player might have to cross over. And a lot of times in sport, a soccer player may be using the shuffle to defend somebody and then cross over and sprint. So as a performance coach, I have to know what are the demands of each sport, and how can I sit here and tell a volleyball player that they may have to cross over to react and dive to get a ball. And I have to put that into a sport-like environment to help that athlete kind of connect the dots. So it's just knowing sport and doing your research and studying different sports.
Yeah, for sure. And it's never one movement skill,
No.
right? I mean, rarely.
Yeah.
You might get baseball, hey, I just got to turn and steal, but I would say 95% of the time in the sports that you've probably seen, it's, like you said, a shuffle to a crossover, to a sprint, to a jump. Like volleyball, they've got a jump, land, shuffle, then maybe crossover, jump, whatever. 180-degree turn, whatever they have to do, it's all this stuff tied together, right? And it's trying to find out, when you can use all those and apply them together to make sense for the athlete without getting too crazy. Because I think a lot of times in this industry, we see people get crazy for the sense of just getting crazy without any rhyme or reason behind it.
Right. It's as much as we work in this structured environment, we still have to implement the random reactiveness to prepare them for sport. Because if we don't, we're just teaching a very structured skill set that they may never be able to apply. But if we can teach it in a structured setting, make it reactive like you did a series on, and that gets it more like sport. And now we're really preparing an athlete for competition and practice and everything that they're going to get exposed to.
Yeah, because it doesn't do them any good to be awesome in here and still have a hard time on the court, right? I mean, the whole idea is that we get them out of here and they dominate.
Right. And they have to transfer what they learn in a training session to their sport to competition.
Yeah.
And not get injured and perform at a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. But you also make the case to these younger clientele and athletes that we get, we try to keep a lot of these drills much more general, right? Because a lot of times they're just trying to develop how to move. And they also play multiple sports. And then as they kind of go along, would you say, we get to more elite level athletes, then you can get more intricate with some of these drills?
Sure. Yeah, what's the number one parents want is sports-specific training at 8, 9, 10 years old. And really, we would just like to teach these kids some basic, fundamental athletic movements and how to do them properly and effectively. And so, like you just said, as they get to be higher level athletes, then we can really focus in and making sure that everything's done perfect for their sport or their position or whatever the demands may require.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks, Will. I appreciate you coming in. And once again, I encourage you guys, if you can, to go ahead and comment on this, share this video. Will be attached as well too. Leave comments. He'd love to answer some comments and questions you guys may have more about this. And we're going to kind of keep going with this series and keep tackling different subjects within this series. We've talked about with strength with Eric, we've talked about sport like drills and skill set with Will. We're going to kind of keep building on that throughout this series. So I encourage you guys to just keep watching, stay in touch. I love the comments, and thanks for sharing. Thanks, everybody.